What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Waste Management Open, one of the most exciting tournaments of the year. It's going to be a big party this weekend. It's Super Bowl Sunday as well when this thing wraps up. It's always a lot of fun, but before we look ahead to the Waste Management, let's look back at the Farmers Insurance, which is something that we've started to do here, and it seems pretty popular. So let's go back to the Farmers and look at the optimal lineups from last week. For the first time in a while, the top three lineups actually spent more than $42,000. So I tweet these out every week. Follow me. It's at DFS On Demand if you're interested in seeing these. But the optimal lineup last week: Justin Rose, Adam Scott, Taylor Gooch, Hideki Matsuyama, Jason Day, and Seb Straka, who scored 99.5 points out of the $6,000 price tag. The second most optimal lineup spent $46,800, which was Straka, Gooch, Horschel, Scott, Matsuyama, and Justin Rose. And then the third one is probably the most realistic of lineups that anyone would have played, which was Rose, Scott, Matsuyama, Gooch, Horschel, and Woodland. That spent $49,800. The winning lineup in the big $5 tournament on DraftKings scored 633 points. So these optimal lineups were 697 and 696. The winning lineup scored 633, which was about the 125th most optimal lineup, which is pretty far down the list when we see these things. I don't know what point I'm trying to make here other than it's okay to not spend $50,000. It's okay to not spend $49,800 or something like that. It's okay to get access to some of these lower end players. Maybe not the $6,000 Seb Straka, but like open up your minds a little bit, right? What you're seeing win GPPs is the best lineup that people are playing. And they just might not be playing some of the more optimal lineups when the week comes to a close. So that's kind of one takeaway. Speaking of optimal lineups, I have, if you follow along, you know I really don't like optimizers, lineup optimizers. I create all my lineups by hand, but what I do like to use them for is to go back and look at other things. For example, these optimal lineups. And then also, I'm trying to find different ways to use this optimizer. So again, I tweeted these out. Going back and looking, if we would have just taken the pre-tournament win probability, and we can talk about what win probability means. This is probably part of a bigger conversation we need to have. But if you just take the players who are most, assign everyone a win probability. So in this case, Justin Rose was 9.1% to win the Farmers Insurance Open before the week. If we went back before the week and just took the highest total win percentage that we could have for $50,000, we would have gotten Brandon Hagee, Ben Crane, Justin Rose, Tony Finau, Mark Leishman, Keith Mitchell. That would have been about a 21.8% total win percentage that we could have gotten for $50,000. And what my mind is kind of getting at here, and actually the second and third best lineups had Taylor Gooch in them as well. So really lineup number 3 here, which had Rose, Finau, Leishman, Gooch. I don't remember how Blixt or Hagee finished, but that would have probably been a pretty good lineup. The point of this being is you can kind of make some GPP lineups based on win probability. That's the ceiling, right? But I also wanted to do it based on making the cut percentages, which is if you have those, this could kind of be a cash game lineup, right? So I'm showing this now, the top 3. Again, this would have been before the tournament started, their make cut percentages. The optimal or the best total make cut percentage would have been Rose, Scott, Stanley, Hostler, Finau, Watley. That probably would have won you quite a bit because you had both Rose and Scott in there. Stanley was terrible, but Finau played well. I forget what Hostler and Watney did, but my point is, and this is again probably a larger discussion. If you want me to dive into this on a separate pod or a separate video, tweet me, let me know, leave a comment below, and let me know, because I think that looking at it as a holistic approach. Hey, here's the most likely guys to make the cut, which is maybe that's all I care about in cash games, right? Like this is the type of lineup I would play in a cash game to try to get 6 of 6 through. The win probability, that's like the high-end ceiling. Those might be more beneficial towards GPPs. So anyway, that's that. Enough time on last week and some other ideas. Let's jump into the waste management, and here is the cheat sheet. And if you're paying close attention, I've added a few columns to the cheat sheet. I now have a win percentage. I am sourcing this from the web. Okay, this is not my win percentage yet, but the way that this reads, for example, is John Rahm with a 7.5 is a 7.5% chance to win this tournament. I'm coming up with my own calculation here, so stay tuned for a couple weeks because, take this with a grain of salt, because really, Woodland and Matsuyama on this model, they've won all of the last 3 Waste Management Opens. They have 3.5% chance to win this event, which is about half of their peers, which I don't know how realistic that is, but again, it's there for you. I like the idea to use win percentage. This is being sourced. I will try to come up with my own calculation here. And then additionally, ownership percentage, it's Monday afternoon, so I do not have projected ownership yet, but this will fill in this week as it starts to come out, where we're going to try to also add projected ownership in here. So we're evolving a little bit. All right. Let's actually talk about the players. We'll try to run through this pretty quickly. This is kind of my first look at this as well. And what you've got are 4 guys priced over $10,000. It starts with Rahm. No surprise. He's playing excellent. He, always has the ties to Phoenix with going to Arizona State. So he has that vibe here. He had a 5th place finish in his first time ever playing it. Has finished no worse than 16th in any of his 3 starts. So no surprise there. JT at 11,000. We'll come back to him in a second. Hideki at 10,700, coming off the 3rd place last year, 2-time defending champ at the Waste Management here before last year. Just playing well, has an unbelievable elite course history here. A first place, a 2nd place, and a 4th place in a 4-year stretch. Unbelievable. And then Xander's the last guy over 10,000 at 10,100. Now, the thing that's most interesting here is probably JT, right? So JT is the sandwich. I assume Rahm will be very popular. I assume Hideki will be very popular. You're only going to get one of these $11,000 guys into your lineup. If you opt for one of Rahm or Hideki, that leaves you with JT and Xander pretty overlooked. So JT popping off, we saw him play at the Tournament of Championships with a 3rd place finish, a 16th at the Sony. He's had 2 top 20s here in the last 4 years. This seems like, we'll get into the course stats, a good opportunity to get JT at I'm hoping, relatively low ownership. All right, I'll try not to blow too much time here, but this $9,000 range is clearly the most intriguing to me. You've got everything you could possibly imagine. You have Gary Woodland, who had a 2nd place finish here 2 years ago, is playing excellent to start the year, finished 9th at the Farmers. He had a 2nd place at the Tournament of Champions. Xander just kind of took it away from him. Woodland didn't really lose that. You get Finau, who is everyone's favorite darling, mine included, but has missed 3 straight cuts here, so maybe this is not the course for him. You have Fowler, who has that 2nd place finish in 2016. He lost in a playoff to Hideki. I remember it vividly. It cost me a lot of money. I think he blew a 2-stroke lead with 2 to go. Again, elite course history. Phil sneaky on here as well. 2nd place at the Desert Classic the last time he teed it up. 5th place last year. He's won this event before. Kuchar coming off of his win at the Sony. He has 2 straight top 10s here. Like, anything you could ever want is in this $9,000 range, but we're going to have to make decisions. And I'm assuming ownership is probably going to dictate a lot of this, but I'm not overlooking the only guy that I did not mention there. So again, let's frame this. I play a lot of GPPs. I'm looking for the low-owned guys in almost every situation here. Webb Simpson has played 3 times in the swing season. So 15th at the Shriners, 3rd at the RSM, 8th at the Tournament of Champions. He has had a 2nd place finish here in 2017, and in the 2, 4, 5 previous, okay, so he missed the cut last year, 5 previous starts at TPC Scottsdale, no worse than a 15th place and 4 top 10s. I don't know how much ownership he's going to get. I imagine not a lot because you have Woodland right above him, Finau, Fowler, Mickelson, Kuchar, all guys that I'm going to try to be jamming into cash lineups or different situations. But Webb just seems like the guy hasn't played since January, hasn't played since the Tournament of Champions. Like that, I just imagine he's going to go very, very much overlooked here. All right, I'm going to try to run through some of these quickly. There's so much value this week. Where I'm a big fan of Billy Horschel. Liked him a lot last week. He finished 8th. He's racked up a couple of top 25s here in the past. Ches Reavie, who we have now seen play a lot better this year, 3rd place at the Sony, lost in that playoff to Gary Woodland last year. So this course would probably be a good fit for him. And then let's see. When you start getting down into the mid-7s, this is where it's going to get really, really interesting. So you've got Abraham Ancer, $7,700 still, even after missing the cut on the number last week, still have very high hopes for him. JB has pretty good course history here at the Pass. Kyle Stanley has won this event. Brendan Steele has been elite. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 top 6s in the last 7 times he's teed it up here. Let's see who else we have here. Joaquin Niemann started to get it going last week. Some of the names that we've talked about before. Just a lot of. Taylor Gooch, my God, who has now as a 4th and a 3rd coming into this. He's still $7,500. That's pretty wacky. But let's run to. We're gonna come back to this for some of the win probability stuff. But let's run over to the course key stats here because I think this is worth spending some time on. So if you know how we do this, we've got the highest correlated stats, the stats that are correlating between DraftKings success over the last 12 years, right? The PGA Tour stat compared to DraftKings scoring. And then this year we're ranking them. So the highest correlated stats are strokes gained total, scoring average, SDFA, that's a typo, putts over 10 feet, and birdie or better. Those are common ones every week. But the ones for TPC Scottsdale, which by the way, par 71, it is going to be exciting coming down the stretch because 4 of the 5 easiest holes are on the back 9. You've got the 2 par 5s towards the end. You have the drivable par 4, 17th, I believe it is. There's going to be a lot of really low numbers coming in the last 5 holes or so. But what pops out here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 7 highest ranked stats for TPC Scottsdale are putting related, which surprises me because Matsuyama's won here twice. Gary Woodland, who is not notably a very good putter, has won here. Those are your last 3 champions. So maybe it's an outlier for winners, but DraftKings results in general have highly correlated last dozen years to putting. I was very surprised to see that. So let's look at this. Let's break down this year's strokes gained putting. And what you'll notice is there is one guy over $10,000 who is gaining strokes putting this season, and it's Xander. Rahm, Thomas, and Matsuyama are all essentially neutral, right? They haven't been bad. They've been a shade or a hair under an even putter, but Xander's the only guy gaining strokes here over 10,000. In fact, the only guy, there's really only 2 guys above 9,000 that are gaining a half a stroke around. It's Cam Smith and Xander. Yeah, everyone else is less. Bubba, I probably couldn't touch him here, losing 2 strokes putting. You can see all this red is not good for Bubba. But this is kind of interesting. So let's now sort this by, or actually before I sort it, I'll scroll down and see if we can get any more values. Putnam did jump off here at $8,500. He's been putting the lights out. We could call it a small sample size, but really feeling it on the greens this year. Let's see if we can go a little bit further. Patton Kizzire gaining strokes down here in the mid 7,000s, about 3/4 of a stroke per round. Ryan Moore on this list. Kiradech Affy Barnrat, excuse me. I believe that's a small sample though, because he does not qualify for all PGA categories, but gaining over 2 strokes per round. So let's sort this real quick so we can see here, because I think this is really important. So here are the top guys. Again, might be some small sample sizes here early in the season, but your leaders in strokes gained putting across all price ranges are Affy Barnrat, Putnam, Xander, Brian Gay, Denny McCarthy, Zach Johnson, Brant Snedeker, Ryan Moore, Cam Smith. That's like your top, 8 or 10 guys. Now, I did also include the other high-ranking stats here, like putts between 5 and 10 feet, putts over 10 feet. I can very much argue there's a lot of noise in those because how many opportunities you get in those ranges, there's a lot going on. To be good at like 5 to 10 and not be good at 5 and under is probably not that important. But I did want to put it on here because of putts over 10 feet. I think this is the first time this has happened this season. Putts over 10 feet showed up on both the highest ranked stats and the highest correlated stats columns, which does not happen often. So I included it. Your leaders there are generally the same guys. It's Affy Barnrat, Zach Johnson, Brian Gay, Putnam, Phil Mickelson, Stuart Singh, Jason Kokrak, who keeps popping up in like top 15 spots across the country. But those are your leaders there. Outside of that, the other stats that are going to be important, of course, your birdie or better numbers. So these generally are your higher priced players. Phil Mickelson, far and away, 34% birdie or better, kind of lapping the field. It's Woodland, Thomas, and Champ are all around 30.5%. So Phil's pretty far ahead above the rest of the field in terms of birdie or better. Siwoo Kim also shows up here. He's only 7,500. Ryan Palmer shows up here. He's only 7,700. Let's see. It's SDFA. I got to change this in my database. That is a typo. But it is no surprise to see the clear value here is Taylor Gooch. Still $7,500 after 2 top 4 finishes. He's going to be popular this week. And he should be. He's playing really, really well, and DraftKings not moving the price. And then let's just do strokes gained total real quick before we jump back. And it's Xander, it's Gooch, it's Cam Smith, it's Luke List, it's JT. Actually, Ches Reeves basically top 10 here as well. So a lot of the same names. So you can see the names I'm going to be building a core around. The more I look at it, the more I'm going to have to play Xander and Thomas in GPPs. Probably will play the Kuchers of the world and John Rahm and Cash and stuff like that. But let's go back to the cheat sheet, because this is something we used to do all the time. We used to finish up with the Vegas odds. We're going to do it with win percentage. So essentially similar, but what we've talked about before is DraftKings pricing generally correlates to Vegas odds. Well, win percentage kind of does too. So let's see if we can find any values here. And I will sort this by, actually, I won't sort this. We'll just go here by salary. So if you look at this, again, Xander's name continues to pop up. Xander has the same win percentage as Justin Thomas, and actually a better win percentage, and he is $900 cheaper. According to this, Hideki and Woodland would not be good values because they have essentially half the chance of winning this as Xander does, even though they're priced in the same ballpark. Webb Simpson and Tony Finau both have better chances to win. They're both cheaper. Ricky Fowler, same thing. He's kind of or I guess he'd be overpriced in this situation. Phil would be underpriced with 4.4% to win. As we continue to scroll down, you can see against his peers, Billy Horschel is a good value. Ches and Bubba Watson, who sandwich him, have about a 0.7% chance to win this thing. Billy Horschel over twice that, 1.6% chance to win this thing. Going down even further, the high 7,000 range, the guys that you're looking for here in terms of value would be Hatton, Bradley, and Zach Johnson. They all have between a 1.5 and a 2.1% chance of winning this. Guys around them like Austin Cook, Brandon Grace, Abraham Answer, Ryan Palmer, much more in the 0.5% range. Let's see if I can scroll down and get any more. Gooch in his range, basically 1.25 or 1.5 times what his peers are. He's got a 1.1% chance to win this. Siwoo Kim, Brendan Steele, much worse odds to actually win it. Lucas Glover, a little bit of a value on his range. Keith Mitchell, Bud Colley, and Stuart Sink would be the guys that kind of jump off this list in terms of value and their actual win percentage. Now, again, those are very small odds. Even the favorite, John Rahm, only has a 7.5% chance to win. So you could argue we're absolutely splitting hairs here, but I'm trying to show you where there is value. And I hope it works out for you this week. Let me know what you think about that. It's the Waste Management Open. Tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand, or leave a comment below. I'll talk to you guys soon. Good luck.